Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my labor and delivery story. I know it's been a while since I've uploaded, and I say that I'm going to be uploading and I haven't done so. I just haven't got around to it. Obviously I'm a mom of two babies now, so it's a little bit harder to film for you guys and get stuff up for you guys, but trust me, I'm trying to get my life together for you guys. So anyways, I wanted to jump straight into the video because it is like about 2 o'clock in the morning. Babies are sleeping. I just put them both down. Bobby's over there with them in the living room. I'm actually in our room, and I just wanted to film this as fast as possible for you guys. So anyways, I'm gonna jump straight into the video. So February 16, which was Sunday, I remember getting all of my stuff ready, like my diaper bag, the baby's diaper bag. I tried to get everything ready to go because I had a feeling that I was going to be going into labor. I didn't know when, but I just had a feeling that it was going to be soon. So I packed all of my stuff, and luckily I had everything ready. There was a few things here and there that were missing, but I figured if it was that important, Bobby could go and pick it up at the store, Target, whatever. So that night, I go to bed and I wake up like about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I go to the restroom and I see that I'm spotting. So my first instinct was like, I need to go to the hospital. So Bobby, myself, and Robert, my son, we get in the car, we take our bags, and we start driving over there. And I don't know why I didn't think about calling the nurse or calling the doctor at the moment. I called them on my way over there to let them know that we were on our way. And she was like, you know what, go back home, you're fine. You should be okay staying home. If you have contractions back to back, or if you feel like the babies are not moving as much, or if you're spotting and it's like bright red blood, then you want to come to the hospital. But other than that, you should be okay being home. So we ended up driving back home, and I stayed home all day. Bobby didn't go to work the next day, which was Monday the 17th, and we were home all day. I was dealing with contractions all day, but I didn't know they were contractions. For me, I honestly felt like it was false labor, Braxton Hicks contractions, because my stomach would just tighten really, really hard, and then it would go back to normal. And it was only for like a few seconds. And I mean, I felt that like through my whole entire pregnancy, so I didn't really think anything of it. But as the day went by, it started getting a little bit stronger. The contractions were getting a little bit stronger and a little bit longer. And then also I was having a lot of discharge, like clear discharge and like mucousy discharge. So I honestly felt like my water never broke before, like with my son's labor. So I didn't really know if my water had broke or not, or if my mucus plug fell through. Like I didn't know, you guys. So I ended up calling the nurse again the next day, which was Monday, and I was spotting, but this time I was spotting brown blood. And she said, no, you're fine. That's just old stuff, your body getting rid of old stuff that you had before. So I'm not too concerned. She advised me to still stay home, and she told me that if I felt like next time, instead of calling in, just to go to the doctor if I felt like I was too uncomfortable. So I stood home, and I want to say like around 10 o'clock I took a shower, I went to bed, and I was still having contractions. Like I was having contractions all day, and in the night, like they just started getting like worse. Like they were getting stronger, and they were like back to back. And I want to say like around 1 o'clock in the morning, I told Bobby, like, you know what, I think it's time. Like my contractions are getting longer, just help me time them, so we were timing the contractions. And yeah, like they were back to back. I ended up jumping in the shower, and when I was in the shower, because I felt like, okay, maybe if I take another shower, like it'll help me relax. But when I was in the shower, it just started getting worse, And I told Bobby, no, that's it. Like, we need to go. We need to go to the hospital. Like, I'm not even going to call the nurse anymore. I can't. Like, I literally feel like I'm going to push these babies out already. And I'm nervous. I'm nervous. What about if something goes wrong? You know, that's what I was thinking in my head. So I was waiting for him to get ready because I had already got out the shower. I had got all my stuff ready. And I'm sitting in the living room and I'm literally like humming to myself because that's like the only thing that's giving me some comfort. And we leave the house. Robert's with us. And we're driving over there and I'm just like still humming, kind of screaming a little bit because the contractions are getting worse. And Bobby's like, should I call my mom? I'm like, yes, call her, tell her that to hurry up and come over here, because I had a feeling that as soon as I went into the hospital, like they were gonna have me deliver. But then I was also like, okay, well, maybe I'm not even dilated, you know? So I felt like it could go either way. But the way that I was feeling, like I already knew that I was in labor. We get to the hospital. I don't even know where to go, you guys, because I went into labor so early that I didn't know where to go. I never did the tour or any of that. So I didn't know where to check in, where to register. I didn't know any of that. Luckily, when we got to the hospital, there was like a guard outside and giving us information. So he told us exactly where to go, where to check in. So we got pretty lucky. We didn't have to be running around the whole hospital like maniacs. We get to the hospital, they check me in, and Bobby has to stay outside because our son is with us, you know. But as they're checking me in, like the lady's like, okay, let's see, we need to do an ultrasound. We need to also call your doctor and see what your plan was. What was your plan? As they're doing the ultrasound, taking blood and checking me and everything, I'm talking to them about the plan, which was for me to have a natural birth if the babies were head down. But if the babies were not head down and one of them was a breech, I was just gonna go and do a C-section. And the doctor's like, okay, that's good. I'm glad that you're open to it. So, you know, right now that we do the ultrasound, if everything's good, you know, we'll go ahead and put you into the labor room, into the delivery room. So she checks me and I'm already 8 centimeters dilated. And as she's doing the ultrasound, both babies are head down. And she's like, okay, we're good to go. Natural birth. Let's get you in, you know. So they're getting everything, like it just happened so fast, you guys, that I don't even remember. They're getting everything out, like for Bobby to put on scrubs and everything. And then they're also prepping the operating room because she's like, okay, since you're having twins, like you need to be in the operating room. And in case we have to do a C-section, like an emergency C-section, everything's ready to go. But she did tell me, like, because you're gonna be in the operating room, you're only allowed to have one person there. And if you do have an emergency C-section, then we'll have everybody leave. So originally they had told me that 3 people could be there, including Robert, which is the baby sibling, which is my son. They told me that he could be there. Doesn't matter his age or anything, but because I delivered in the operating room, only one person was allowed. So that kind of sucked. We had already like told Bobby's mom to be in there, and his little niece was also gonna be in there, but because of that, only Bobby was allowed to be in there. So we go to the room and they have me all set up, ready to go. The doctor comes in, she checks me, and she's like, okay, you're 8 centimeters, you're not quite ready to push yet. She's like, I'm gonna give you like about an hour, let's see how you do. And that whole time I'm like dealing with the contractions, you guys. I'm just like breathing through them. I wasn't in a lot of pain. I just felt really uncomfortable. I don't know if that makes sense, but I didn't feel pain. I just felt uncomfortable, like I couldn't get comfortable. The doctor's like helper, the nurse, was there and she kept asking me like, do you want an epidural? Do you want an epidural? I suggest you get the epidural now, because if you don't get it and if one of the babies flips, like you're gonna have to have an emergency C-section, and if you have an emergency C-section, that means that we're gonna put you to sleep completely and you're not gonna witness the birth. So I would just say get the epidural now so like that you don't have to go through all of that later, you know. So I was kind of like, no, well, I want to do a natural, you know. And she's like, well, you need to know that there's a possibility that the baby could flip once you deliver one. It's always, that always tends to happen, one of them always flips. So I started telling Bobby, like, what do you think? Should I get it? Should I not? And he's like, I don't know, babe. It's up to you. Whatever you feel comfortable, whatever you want to do. He's like, it's up to you, you know? So in my mind, I'm thinking, like, I'm just going to get it, because if I don't get it, I'm not going to see both babies be born, you know? That's the reason why I got it. With Robert, you guys, I got the epidural. I didn't even feel it, because that's how much pain I was in. Like, I was having really back labor with him, like bad back labor with him, where, you know, I felt all my contractions in my back and in my pelvic area. But with my girls, it was different. Like, the contractions were not bad at all, you know. So they call in the anesthesiologist. He comes in, he starts doing the epidural, and I feel everything. I'm in so much pain, and I'm telling him, like, you know, it's not working. Like, the epidural is not working. Like, I still feel the contractions, and it just hurts. Like, it hurts. And he's like, yeah, I'm trying to get the epidural in, but I can't seem to find where to put it in. Like, it's too hard right now. And he's putting the needle in, and I just feel like my back, like, I feel so much pain in my back. And I hear him like, oh, don't move, stay still. And he's like, I'm gonna start injecting the medication, you know. So he starts injecting the medication, and I'm like screaming at the top of my lung because it hurts so bad. And he's like, do you feel numb? Do you still feel the contractions? And I'm like, no, I'm still, like, you guys, I still felt everything. Like, it didn't feel like it worked at all. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna have to pull it out and redo it again. So he pulls it out, he does it again, and then he starts injecting the medication. This time around, when he's injecting the medication, I feel like tingling all over my body, and I start getting itchy, like everywhere, like really bad itching everywhere. And as soon as he starts injecting the medication, both babies' heart rates just dropped. They couldn't hear the baby's hearts beating anymore, and we had them in the machine on the monitor, and you can't see them. So all these nurses and doctors rush in, and they're just like, okay, what's going on? The doctor starts explaining to them that the epidural wasn't working. And I hear the doctor telling the anesthesiologist, like, pull the epidural out, pull it out. It's too much of a danger for the babies. Their heart rates are too low. You know, we need to figure out what the heck is going on, you know? So they, like, the anesthesiologist is like trying to figure out what's going on. He's trying to stabilize everything. And she's like, is there something that you can do to stabilize the babies and the mom? You know, their heart rates are dropping. Mom is getting agitated. Like, we don't know what else to do. So he injects some medication into the epidural, and then the babies kind of are stabled. But I kid you not, you guys, there was like 20 doctors and nurses running into the room, and Bobby, they had kicked Bobby out. They told him to leave. After that, once the babies were stabled, the doctor had the anesthesiologist pull out the epidural, because it just didn't work. So basically, although they did inject the epidural, I had a natural birth because the epidural didn't work on me. I ended up pushing baby A out first. When the doctor went to go check me to see how many centimeters I was dilated, my water broke. And she's like, oh no, you know, hopefully everything's good, and you know, you're good to push. So I started pushing the babies. I was already 10 centimeters. I started pushing the baby. it was very difficult, but I did it, you guys. I pushed her out pretty quickly. She was born like at 5:50 something in the morning. I don't even know. I actually have it up here. And she said that baby A had the umbilical cord tied pretty had the umbilical cord tied pretty tight around her neck. So they didn't like give her to me right away. They took her, the nurses took her, they stabilized her, and then after that, while they were doing all of that, and they were trying to get baby B to come down and drop, and it took a little while, but that whole time, like, the doctor was like sticking her hand all the way in to pull the baby out, so that hurt a lot. It took about like 10 minutes for them to like bring the baby down. Luckily the baby didn't flip, everything was good, and I started feeling like I needed to push. So I start pushing, and within like 5 minutes of pushing, the baby's born. The babies were like 2 minutes apart. The babies, I mean 2 minutes, they were 12 minutes apart. So yeah, it didn't take that long. It took longer just waiting for the baby B to drop, because she hadn't dropped, and then also the doctor had to break my water with baby B, so all that took a little while, but everything was pretty good. It was a pretty smooth delivery other than the epidural. So baby B, they were able to place her on top. Bobby was able to cut her umbilical cord, and the babies were pretty healthy, you guys. They were tiny, teeny tiny. Baby A was 4 pounds 7 ounces, and baby B was 4 pounds 15 ounces, and they were breathing on their own, they were eating on their own, everything was great. They had no issues or anything at that time. And they took us to the recovery room, and everything was good. When we were in the recovery room, the anesthesiologist came in and they talked to me about me having a wet tap. So basically when he pulled the epidural out the 2 times, fluid from my spine leaked out. And I don't know if you guys have ever had that, but you get spinal headaches or something like that, what they call them. Horrible, horrible. I experienced them, you guys, and they were just so bad. And then, you know, after you give birth, you're trying to enjoy your babies, and I didn't get to enjoy my babies because I had these horrible headaches that just would not go away. And the only time that if I felt like some kind of comfort was when I was laying flat. They basically told me that they wanted me to do a blood patch, which is basically they get blood, your own blood, and they inject it into your spinal fluid or your spine or whatever. They basically do another epidural, but with blood, and that should be the only way that those headaches go away, if they don't go away natural. But he's like, there might be a possibility, there might not be. He's like, but you have that option, so think about it, and if you want to do it tomorrow, we can go ahead and do it. And I did. I ended up experiencing those headaches really bad. So give me a second, let me check up on the babies. Okay, you guys, I have a little special guest, little Remy girl. She's right here. She woke up, so she's gonna be here with me. So yeah, I ended up, they gave me the option to have a blood patch done, but I didn't do it. And then also, before I went into labor, during my doctor's appointments, they had asked me about doing a tubal ligation. I had signed all the paperwork, everything was ready to go, and I basically told the doctor that if I had a C-section, that I'll go ahead and do it. But since I didn't have a C-section, I didn't go through with it. They told me if I wanted to do it the next day. So I thought about it, and honestly, you guys, I felt like with everything that happened during my labor, with the blood, the wet tap and stuff, I wasn't up for it. I wanted to just recover, and then after do everything. Once, you know, everything passed with the babies, I figured, you know, I can go ahead and do everything else. But those should have been signs for me to stay at the hospital, because we were released. I had the babies on Tuesday, February 18th, and we were released on Friday, I want to say. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yeah, the babies had to stay at the hospital for 48 hours. So we were released on Friday. She already fell asleep, and on the way home, like instead of coming to our house, we ended up going to Bobby's parents' house, just so like that they can help us a little bit with the babies. And on the way over there, you guys, I was having the worst headache. Those headaches were just so bad that I couldn't even get up out of bed. It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. But I was glad that we went over there, because 3 days after we were released home with the babies, baby A, which was Rosie, she stopped breathing on us at home. We ended up calling 911, the ambulance, everybody was there. I ended up doing CPR on her, so like that they could revive her. She started turning blue, and she stopped breathing for a little bit. It wasn't for a long period of time. It was probably less than a minute. I want to say seconds. But it was very scary experience. Bobby and I were alone with both babies, and Robert was there. His parents had just left. I don't know where they went to, but they had just left from the house. And yeah, that happened. So we got really scared. We got transported to the hospital. I went with her. Bobby stayed home with the other baby, and they did tests and everything, and they ended up admitting her to the NICU at Riverside, because we were over there in Riverside. So we went to one hospital. They didn't have a NICU there. We waited to get transported to another NICU that was accepting her. So we went there. We were there for about a day. We were there for a whole day, and Bobby brought baby Remy, this one, to me, so like that I could breastfeed her, because I was breastfeeding them. And I went down to the car, because she couldn't go into the hospital, right? So I went down to the car to breastfeed her, and when I was breastfeeding her, she didn't really want to eat. So I was just holding her in my arms, and then she started turning blue and stopped breathing on me. Luckily, we were in the parking lot of the hospital, so I took her to the emergency room. And when we were in the emergency room and they were checking her out, she had another episode, and luckily the nurse and the doctor were there, and they witnessed it. And they were all scared because they didn't know what to do. So I told them, you know, she's a twin, her sister's in the NICU, she experienced the same thing, and now, you know, she's going through this. We're waiting for them. We were waiting for her to be transferred. They were transferring her from Riverside to Kaiser in Corona, like close to Riverside. So the doctor was like, yeah, you know what, if they're gonna do a transfer, might as well have them transfer together so they could be together wherever they're gonna be sent to. Uh-oh. Okay. Yeah, okay. So we were able to transfer both of them. So they sent them. So Remy was never admitted to the NICU at Riverside. Only Rosie was. And they were transferred to the NICU in Kaiser. And that's where they were for about a week. We learned so much being at the NICU, you guys, about feeding, about burping, about everything, but they just couldn't tell us why the babies stopped breathing. They couldn't give us a straight answer as to why it continued to happen. When we were in the NICU, the babies did great. Like, I think they only had like 2 episodes, but they did pretty good there. They were eating great, they were pooping, they were breastfeeding on their own. But we started noticing that when I would breastfeed, that's when they would have the spouse. So they suggested for me not to breastfeed them, basically to pump and then feed them in the bottle. So I was doing that the whole time that they were in the NICU, but because I was pumping, I wasn't really getting a lot of milk in. And I mean, I was supplementing from the day that they were born, because the doctor, when I delivered them, the doctor just basically told me it was best for me to supplement just because my milk wasn't in yet. But yeah, when we were at the NICU, they advised me it was just best for me not to breastfeed. So I'm not breastfeeding them. It sucks, you guys. I'm mourning that, because I breastfed my son, you know, and I wanted to have that same experience with my girls, but I wanted to do what was best for them, and if it meant not being able to breastfeed because of their health, then, you know, so be it. But I tried to pump. I was pumping every like hour, and I wasn't getting enough milk. I would get a bottle for one of them, and that was it, and it wasn't enough. So yeah, we were there for about a week at the NICU. They were released. We brought them home. We ended up going back to Bobby's mom's house for a little bit, and you know, we felt like the babies were doing pretty good, so we decided to come home. And the day that we came home, Remy stopped breathing on us, which is this baby, the one that I have, and she was transported to the Kaiser in Fontana. No, yeah, Kaiser in Fontana. And instead of being admitted to the NICU, they sent her to pediatrics. In pediatrics, they did like all this testing just to see what it could be that they were experiencing. They wanted to see if it was seizures or what was happening. They did all the tests. Everything came back negative. They even did an ultrasound of her brain. Nothing. They couldn't find nothing, you guys. They basically told me that the babies were experiencing brulies. I don't even remember what it stands for, but I guess it's something called like a brief, unexplained, self-resolving incident or something like that. I don't know. But basically is the babies just stopped breathing, either because they were premature or because they were doing too much effort for breastfeeding. They just, for whatever reason, they just stopped. The doctors showed us CPR videos. They basically told us that it was our call if the incidents were to happen and continue to happen, that it was our call whether we wanted to call the ambulance or not. But he basically told us that every time that we call, you know, they're going to be admitted and tests are going to have to be ran. But he said that, you know, usually, you know, if it happens, just monitor the baby. If they come back and everything's good, you know, monitor, write everything down. But if the baby stops breathing and it's for longer than a minute, then I would obviously suggest for you to call the ambulance, you know. And yeah, she was released. I think she was there for like 2 days. She was released. They couldn't find anything wrong. You know, the doctor said that they were healthy babies, that they just didn't know why it kept happening. We went home, and I want to say like about a week later, Rosie had an episode, and then like a week after that, Remy had an episode. But Bobby and I, you know, we felt more confident in the way we dealt with it, because we were able to stay calm and relaxed. And yeah, like after that, it hasn't happened. It's been almost 2 months that we've been home with them, and I want to say that it hasn't happened in about a month, so we are very happy about that. The babies are definitely growing. They're getting so much bigger, but it was a really scary situation to go through. And Bobby and I, you know, we were scared. We were really scared, and we felt really bad for the parents that were there. There were so many babies in the NICU. There were so many parents that were crying. We were one of those parents at one point, but I felt like us being at the NICU every day, every feeding, every hour, you guys, we lived out of our car. Like, we didn't go home. I didn't even shower. I think I didn't shower for like 3 days straight. we were in and out of the hospitals, and you know, it was not great, but you know, we did what we needed to do for them, and I feel like that's part of the reason why the babies have been doing so well, is because Bobby and I have done whatever we could to show them that, you know, we're here for them. So yeah, it was a scary experience. Right now, you know, we're home. We've been talking about me going back to work. I don't think that's going to be an option. I think I'm going to want to be home with them just because of their medical condition. I'd rather be home and know that they're safe and everything's good. And I, you know, I already know like how to handle the situation if something were to happen. But even then, you guys, she's laughing. Even then, like, I don't know, you know, like, I had so many emotions going through. I started getting anxiety. I would start crying. I mean, I still do start crying out of nowhere, and you know, I feel panicky at times, but I'm happy that, you know, they're doing good. But yeah, you guys, that was my labor and delivery story. If you guys have any questions or want to know anything in specific that I didn't mention, please feel free to leave it in the comments. Subscribe to my channel, follow me on Instagram. I'll go ahead and leave my handle down below. Yeah, I'll see you guys next time. I am gonna be filming my 3rd trimester update. I didn't get the chance to film it, but obviously, you guys, I had the babies early. I didn't mention this, but I had the babies at 35 weeks and 5 days. So, you know, they came about a month early. I should have mentioned that at the beginning of the video. Yeah, so I didn't get around to filming my 3rd trimester. I will film it though. Obviously, I'm not pregnant, so I can't show you guys my belly or anything like that. But I will show you guys like the aftermath of having twin babies. Anyways, you guys, I'll see you guys on my next video. Bye.